Hey, Bob, I believe that we are recording right now. And with that, uh, you may proceed.
Thank you so much, Brenda, and thanks to the APMP's Chesapeake chapter for inviting me back, this time to share some of the highlights from my new book, Successful Proposal Strategies on the Go. This is my 7th book on proposals, each one published by Artec House Incorporated in Boston and London. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Robert Frey. My customers and colleagues call me Dr. Bob. I've been engaged in proposal development now for 37 years. My friend, colleague, and co-teacher, Dr. Terry Tarbell, nominated me to be an APMP fellow, and I received that honor at the APMP ceremony in New Orleans in 2006. That was the year following Hurricane Katrina. Looking down from the hotel room, I distinctly remember seeing debris on the roofs of buildings nearby. From the time I started working on proposals, I was like a sponge in an effort to learn as much as I could about the federal acquisition process. Government and industry terminology, roles and responsibilities across the proposal team, and effective writing styles and techniques, just to scratch the surface. I codified what I learned on the job every chance I had. By the early 1990s, I had developed the manuscript for a proposal book. After shopping my manuscript with 32 potential publishers, Artec House Incorporated tentatively accepted my manuscript pending a detailed technical review. The editor with whom I worked, a former vice president at Hughes Aircraft, stretched my thinking in demanding ways. I recall him circling a footnote in my manuscript and writing, "Great idea, Bob. Now expand this into a chapter." So I did. And then in 1997, Artec House published the first edition of my book, Successful Proposal Strategies for Small Businesses. I went on to have 6 editions of that book published between 1997 and 2012. And now, in 2024, my new book is not a 7th edition of my reference style book, but rather a series of real-world vignettes woven across 20 chapters.
Okay.
Today, we'll focus on 4 major topics. The first is strengths in the context of the federal government's source selection process. Next, we'll turn to the key ingredients in sustained proposal success. Most any company can win a proposal every now and again. The challenge in the federal market space is to win greater than 60% of the contract dollars that your company pursues. Notice that I didn't say the goal was winning 6 proposals out of every 10 your company submits. A far more meaningful proposal win rate is based on contract dollars versus contract dollars pursued. Moving on, we'll examine the tight integration of internal business functions that must work in tandem to increase the probability of winning federal proposals. And finally, WIFM, what's in it for me, from the standpoint of the federal government. Look, it's not about your capabilities and tools and techniques or about your company or your team. Rather, a proposal is about what your company or team can do to support the government's mission, strategic and business objectives, and project goals both today and tomorrow. Our first target is strengths. Every day, I work with my customers to help them see proposal land through a different lens. Many professionals in proposal development, as well as executive management, business development, and capture management, see a solicitation document, such as a request for proposal, or RFP, or request for quotation, RFQ, and immediately think about the theme, major sales messages, and discriminators, as well as what some companies call wow factors that they will build into their proposal volumes. This mindset is extremely pervasive across companies of all sizes. In 2023, I conducted an in-depth training seminar on U.S. federal government source selection, specifically within NASA, to senior staff members of a multinational information technology and consulting systems integration company. I specifically and repeatedly emphasized what NASA Source Evaluation Board members consider during the review of the non-price volumes, namely strengths, weaknesses, and deficiencies. Within only a week of that training, the Senior Vice President for Space talked about convening a meeting to discuss win themes. I knew that I had my work cut out for me. Now, within the Department of Defense source selection procedures, the focus for technical rating is on strengths, weaknesses, uncertainties, and deficiencies. To earn strengths, your proposal must move well beyond simply meeting the requirements found in the Performance Work Statement, or PWS, or the Statement of Work. Many times, I've heard experienced managers talk in terms of, all we need to do is answer the mail and have a competitive price, and then we'll win. That approach, and more importantly, that attitude, will not win consistently in 2024. Your proposal must highlight specifically how your organization will exceed the RFP or RFQ requirements in ways that are beneficial to the specific government agency. Your job is to make the government evaluators feel at home in your company's proposal. One way to do that for defense-related proposals is to mirror the blue color that appears in Table 2A, page 23 of the DoD source selection procedures, and do that in call-out boxes, figures, and tables. This color also visually conveys the adjectival rating of outstanding, which is defined as demonstration of an exceptional approach and understanding of the requirements, contains multiple strengths and or at least one significant strength. Importantly, in defense-related proposals, employ the terms outstanding, exceptional, exceeds, advantageous, and merit in your proposal volumes, coupled with quantitative and qualitative validation. For example, the advantage of our platform agnostic systems is, or our communication products provide exceptional situational awareness in net-centric warfare with an adversary with advanced weapon systems by. So that's how we can build it into our narrative. To be considered strengths, the evidence that your company presents in this regard must resonate with what the government agency deems as adding value to their mission and their program. I always recommend to my customers to use the phrase evidence of strengths in their proposal rather than merely strengths. Frankly, the use of strengths alone amounts to an arrogant assertion. Strengths are in the eye of the government beholder, aka evaluator, not industry. The evidence of strengths table illustrated here builds upon the keywords found in the government's project-specific evaluation factors for award, that is Section M of the RFP or RFQ, for this given opportunity. For example, the first evidence of a strength that relates to understanding is labeled S for strength, U for understanding, and 1 for the first understanding strength. In this way, in the narrative, you can reference S, U, 1 without having to include all the associated text. This type of table should appear at the beginning of each major section of your company's proposal, including the technical approach and management approach. Make sure that it is located within the body of sections that the government will actually evaluate and score numerically, adjectively, or colorimetrically. A critical success factor is to add quantitative detail to your evidence of strengths. It's not sufficient to say that our approach saved the government money on a given program. Rather, our approach saved $350,000 over the course of the first 6 months of the contract. Dollars and period of time are important variables to emphasize. I favor using the United States Air Force's paradigm of BLUF, bluff, bottom line up front. Anchor these strengths tables to the start of your proposals. Don't make evaluators hunt for the value that you are going to bring to them. Make it simple for them to find it, copy it, and put it in their source selection findings. BAE Systems is a $27 billion company. Back in 2013, when I spoke at BAE's Business Winning Conference in Nashua, New Hampshire, my guidance was to strive to attain 30 significant strengths and strengths. And by the way, BAE adopted that as one of their proposal best practices. However, my guidance has changed. I have seen a single award winner have 38 significant strengths and strengths, and the runner-up, conversely, having 32 significant strengths and strengths. That's precisely why my recommendation to you today is to target 40 strengths and significant strengths in each of your proposals. Literally, you cannot have too many strengths. Focus on maximizing the number of context-specific, quantitatively and qualitatively validated strengths that are aligned with the evaluation for factors for award presented in Section M. That should be your capture and proposal team's #1 goal. It is important that your company look and think beyond technical strengths to encompass management, staffing, phase-in, training, diversity, and teaming. The strengths presented here and on the next 2 slides show real deal strengths codified within recent government source selection documents. Here we see strengths related to knowledge management and knowledge sharing, lines of communication, along with cost reporting, cost tracking, and cost control. Now, over the course of my years of analyzing strengths across a broad cross-section of government source selection statements and source selection decision documents, I have observed 2 key patterns. First, industry's investments and financial commitments in the success of the government's program frequently rise to the level of strength. I'm not talking about giving the government money. That's illegal. I'm talking about showing how your company and your team will invest your dollars to assist the government in being successful in their mission on this given program. In some cases, it may make sound business sense for your company to invest in a full or part-time individual to focus on such areas as improvements, innovations, knowledge sharing, or market research on the upcoming contract. Quantify the investment level to which your company will commit and indicate the duration of that investment. Now, just so you're aware, there are some agencies, such as NASA, that actually require offerors or bidders to provide a section in their proposal that focuses on how you're going to market to a given center's capabilities and assets. How are you going to bring dollars into the centers? So there are federal agencies that do actually want to see how you're going to promote investment in their success. And secondly, the other observation that I have made, name your key processes and techniques. Even better, officially trademark, service mark, or copyright them. I have seen named approaches for transitioning, onboarding, and training, for example, rise to the level of a strength. One action item to complete before the release of the final RFP is to conduct a thorough inventory of all of the dollars that your firm has invested in taking care of your staff professionals over the past 3 years. For example, how much did your firm spend on employee educational reimbursement, technical refresh, certification, and cross-training? How much was spent on employee engagement and morale building events, as well as tangible awards, bonuses, and peer recognition? The government wants to ensure that the staff in whom they have invested time and training stays engaged on the new contract. I recommend that your company have a subset of reviewers at each major review stage be charged with finding the strengths that your company has identified during the capture management phase within the non-price proposal volumes. The reviewers should receive a listing of the candidate's strengths. Their task is to actually find them in the proposal documents. Let's say, for example, that your team has identified 32 candidate strengths for a given opportunity. Ideally, reviewers should be able to locate 100% of them. The metric to track at each review is the actual percentage of those candidate strengths that the reviewers found in the proposal. And then as your proposal matures, the percentage should definitely increase. Now, the ultimate litmus test is determining the percentage of candidate strengths that your company developed and embedded in your proposal, which, in fact, appear in the government's source selection decision document. On a multi-hundred million NASA proposal that I supported from 2019 to 2021, it was extremely gratifying to see candidate strengths that the prime contractor had built into their proposal appear with almost verbatim in the source selection statement. And that proposal was a winner. Now, shifting gears, what is the look and feel of a winning proposal? Your proposal is a mirror in which your customer must see themselves. That is, their mission, their strategic and business objectives, their requirements, their stakeholders, their governance structure, and your understanding of that framework. their as-is environment and your perception of it, and their strategic and operational challenges and how you will address them effectively and efficiently now and over time. Make the evaluators feel at home in your proposal. To do this, ensure that there is exacting and visible mapping to the RFP requirements through the headings and subheadings, the numbering or alphanumeric scheme, and the parenthetical cross-references to the solicitation that you include with headings and subheadings. Importantly, use the customer's lexicon. While working with one of my customers on their recompetition of a contract at Fort Huachuca in Sierra Vista, Arizona, I interviewed the program manager. He indicated that his primary role in supporting the Army's contracting officer, or KO in this case, was to, quote, clear the brush so that the KO could focus on important mission activities. When that specific language underwent copy editing, it was rephrased, viewed as not being the King's English. What we need to keep in mind is that people buy from people, and people buy from people they know and trust. Use the local phrases and terms of art and the language that you hear during site visits, industry day events, one-on-one meetings, and call plan execution. Bake that language into your proposal narrative. Absolutely do not let it be edited out during the proposal development response lifecycle. Winning proposals are also characterized by relevant success stories, including intangible assets, such as accessibility on evenings and weekends, an established record of highly ethical business practices, responsiveness and a strong sense of urgency, and anticipation of your customers' diverse needs. Finally, quantitative validation rather than generalities such as extensive, vast, and widespread is critical to winning. I can't tell you the number of small companies I support, and I read in their proposals that we have vast experience or extensive qualifications. As a small company, you don't have vast anything. So we ought not use those terms. Let me draw your attention to the last gold star on this slide. Do the thinking and the drawing before the writing. This is exactly the opposite sequence in which many companies develop their proposal responses. Too often, organizations want to jump right in and begin writing. Individual subject matter experts and content providers right to the level that they know. And then for Pink Team, files are appended into a single review document. No surprise then that initial reviews show that the proposal is off the mark. Instead, begin by planning and thinking about exactly what it is that you are selling to the government in this procurement. Collect quantitative and qualitative evidence that can be used to substantiate the strengths that you are putting forward. Take the time to create, that is, draw, at least 2 centerpiece graphics. I'm talking about overarching graphics when I use the word centerpiece. The first is the overall technical approach across all task areas. How are you going to approach the technical response as a unit? And the second is the overall management approach to deliver exemplary technical support. This also includes the project level organizational chart. There are so many times I witness companies reworking the organizational chart deep in the proposal response lifecycle. Get that built and agreed upon upfront such that you are writing and further illustrating on solid ground. Now, more than 2 decades ago, the best business developer and the best capture manager with whom I have ever had the opportunity to work directly, and me, developed this definition of winning in the federal market space. After much time and many modifications, we arrived at the following succinct statement. The winner is the prime, that is, the lead contractor for a given team, as evaluated by the customer, such as the Air Force or Department of Energy, whose approach, their proposal, is demonstrably different and superior when evaluated against stated and unstated criteria. Now, the stated criteria include the RFP or other solicitation documents, questions and answers, as well as formal amendments to the RFP. Importantly, the unstated criteria refer to those hopes, fears, biases, critical issues, and success factors that business developers learn through face-to-face visits with key government decision makers.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes, but stay. With me.
A word about bias in this context. Think of a bias as a strong preference in one direction versus another. A case in point is the government's decision makers' preference or bias for BMC Helix IT service management versus Avanti, formerly Landesk Service Desk for enterprise service management support. Another example is the specific agency's bias against the contractor project management office or PMO. Every offerer has access to the stated criteria. A key difference between winning and coming in second on a single award competitive federal contract is your organization's awareness of the unstated criteria. And that awareness must be reflected in the words and illustrations contained in your proposal. Let's move on to our third topic. Fundamentally, there are 6 functions within your company that must communicate and work together well for sustained business success in the federal government market space. These encompass business development, capture management, proposal development, knowledge management or KM, infrastructure, and operations. Now notice that I specifically use the word functions. In many small organizations, for example, there are no dedicated staff who have the title of business developer or capture manager. That being said, everyone in your organization who is engaged in these functions should recognize that no matter their title or reporting chain, they best serve your company and themselves professionally by recognizing that they are actually engaged in the arena of business development. For those of you who are company executives, one of your critical roles is to build, sustain, and recognize a winning culture across your organization. That winning culture results in part from clear communication from and active listening by leadership, ongoing team building engagements, continuous learning and improvement, fostering a strong sense of job embeddedness, that is, an individual's affinity for their job, their colleagues, and the mission of the company, honoring diversity and inclusion, and providing tangible rewards for performance excellence and proposal wins. Winning is a team sport. Everyone must play for the team to win consistently. A word about proposal win bonuses. I have worked for organizations that built proposal win bonuses into their offer letters for new staff. Proposal win bonuses were available to everyone in the organization with the exception of business developers. They were on a different compensation framework. At any rate, the key word in the proposal win bonus is win. There was no bonus for those efforts that took a lot of work but did not result in a win. I can't tell you the morale booster that proposal win bonuses constitute. My suggestion is that your organization strongly consider adopting that practice. Now, the business development function focuses on collecting and assessing business intelligence by direct interactions with the government customer. Because competitive assessments influence solutions, another BD function is to become familiar with your company's competitors for a particular pursuit. The capture management function formulates solutions based upon the business intelligence that the BD function has collected, documented, and socialized across the capture and proposal teams. Think of solutions as the choices that your company makes from a technical, management, staffing, phase-in, and past performance standpoint. For example, will you use IBM engineering requirements management doors as the requirements management tool, or alternatively, Visure requirements? That's a technical choice and therefore a technical solution. Will your company propose a deputy program manager as a key position or not? That's a management choice and therefore a management solution. Will your company offer to accelerate the phase-in schedule by 7 days? Or does your organization conclude that that step introduces too much potential risk? That's a phase-in choice and thus a phase-in solution. The capture management function also assembles quantitative and qualitative evidence of strengths that your company is advancing in your proposal. Importantly, the proposal development function ensures that evidence of strengths jumps off the pages of your proposal. This function manages the set of proposal documents and ensures exacting compliance with all formatting, structural, and due date requirements. In addition, it develops the outline and proposal calendar in close coordination with the capture manager. It also designs and builds the proposal volumes to create positive difference between your company and your competitors. The proposal development function also serves as a key quality checkpoint for acceptance of all text and graphics from internal company staff, as well as teammates. Importantly, this function maintains exacting configuration control of all proposal documents and other work products, such as graphics and past performance questionnaires, using a knowledge sharing portal, such as SharePoint, Privia, or Confluence. Knowing what you know as an organization, that is the KM function, supports business development, capture management, and proposal development. For example, KM enables fact-based bid, no bid, and teaming decision support by providing insights into corporate contractual past performance and certifications, skill sets and competencies across your organization's staff, quantified success stories from supporting specific government customers, and insight from Black Hat reviews regarding your key competitors. The KM function also supports proposal development with access to field-proven technical and management approaches, as well as documented plans such as quality assurance, safety and health, and diversity, inclusion, equity, and accessibility. These can serve as a meaningful starting point to support what I call rapid proposal prototyping. Of note, however, is that every proposal work product must be customized for the government customer and specific program being pursued. Those staff who are engaged in recruiting, contract administration, invoicing, risk mitigation, quality assurance, cost accounting, and legal review are also integral to business development success. For instance, recruiters work to locate and set up interviews with high demand, low density subject matter experts nationwide using job aggregator tools and talent sourcing platforms. They are often involved with orchestrating off-site open houses or technical interchange meetings. By the way, I would recommend when your company is looking to conduct open houses or some type of outreach forum to attract candidates to come work for you on a given procurement, I would recommend convening technical interchange meetings or TIMs. I have participated in those, and what it actually does is instead of just being a situation where you're there to collect people's resumes and share your benefits with the potential candidates, you're actually there to provide them with meaningful information that they can use in the performance of their work. And finally, operations staff, those folks who support the government customer every day, stand in an ideal position to learn about upcoming transformational process initiatives or changes in operational cadence, as well as plan migration, for example, to a cloud-based platform such as Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure. Importantly, this knowledge must be documented and collected in a systematic manner. So we've now taken a look at the 6 internal functions that must work together in order to win proposals on a consistent basis. Your proposal must answer the question, what's in it for me, or WIFM, and that question from the standpoint of the government. An excellent way to do this is to align your company's validated strengths with the evaluation factors for award found in Section M of the RFP. Illustrating this alignment in a table or figure is a really good idea. Keep in mind that when the result of an action is in the best interest of a person, such as a government source evaluation board member, they are more likely to choose to do it. When they see the value of what you're offering in your proposal, they are much more likely to document a significant strength or strength in their findings document. Now, I am not alone in being a strengths evangelist. My friend and colleague, Bob Lofeld of Lofeld Consulting Group, and I were 2 of 5 consultants whom BAE Systems invited to present at that company's Strengths Summit in March of 2023. Bob spoke about the journey to discover strengths-based winning. And in July of 2023, our host today, Brenda Christ, Vice President at Lofeld Consulting Group, wrote an article entitled 50 Ideas to Jumpstart Your Thinking About Proposal Strengths. By the way, I urge you to take a look at that. It's extremely helpful and fine-grained and applicable. You can use it today. Bottom line, you want to maximize the number of validated strengths that your company offers to your federal government customer for a specific proposal. Sustained proposal development is all about compliance. But I won't say that today or any other day. Compliance is necessary, but not sufficient to win. Focusing heavily on compliance in proposal land is like saying that to be successful in the National Hockey League, the primary emphasis should be on skating. Every starting player among the 31 NHL teams is an exceptional skater, fully capable of rapid maneuvering as well as sudden stopping and changing direction on the ice. Skating alone doesn't put the puck between the pipes enough times to win any given hockey game. By definition, no team can win if they don't score. Scoring every game takes passion, planning, teamwork, execution at the right time, and discipline. Add to these expecting to win and some good luck. These same things apply to proposaling. You have to want to win more than your competitors. You've got to think it, feel it, embrace it, taste it, and own it throughout the entire business development life cycle. Now use the information that I've shared with you today to go win more stuff. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Bob, for this excellent presentation and your kind words too. I appreciate it. So at this point, we're going to start to open it up for questions, and we ask that you put all of your questions in the chat. And okay, so we will wait for the people to put them in chat, Bob. And meanwhile, I want you to know that I have a giveaway for everybody here. And that is a copy of the Successful Proposal Strategies on the Go book. But in order to win this book, I am going to ask a question here. And I want anybody to put their answer in the question. And at this point here, well, my question is this, and it's a number from 1 to 50. Whoever puts it in chat first will win. The question is, how many pages of new copy can the average proposal writer write in 1 day? And it's, okay, wait a minute, we got a winner here. Stop, we got a winner. Chelsea, wait a minute. Chelsea Shelton. Hi, Chelsea, you want to go on, take yourself off mute?
Wow.
You won the book, Chelsea. Chelsea, if you could be so kind as to later on, I'll give you my email address and we can share email addresses. I'll write your name down here and I will make sure I mail that out to you. So thank you so much for attending today.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I'm sure you got that all from your APMP Foundation certification course. But right now I'd like to open it up to questions, okay? All right, let's see what questions we had. Okay, first question is, you talked a lot about strengths. What comments can you share about typical weaknesses? That's a great question. Thank you so much. Bob, do you have any thoughts?
Yes, I certainly do. Thank you very much for the question. Very insightful. The weaknesses that I've seen across many source selection documents relate to not providing enough detail when it comes to such dimensions as understanding and approach. Too many times companies will say, well, just as we did for the Department of Homeland Security, we're going to apply those same techniques for you, instead of exactly how they're going to provide support to the specific government customer on the specific project. Too many times organizations just write in terms of generalities, and instead of being very specific, what are we going to do? Why are we going to do it? Who's going to do it? Who are the people who are going to do it? Not necessarily names, but labor categories. What processes are we going to use? What tools and techniques and technologies are we going to apply? So it's critical to add as much specificity as possible. Weaknesses come in when we have not addressed adequately the evaluation factors for award in Section M. Occasionally, I've seen it where various elements of Section L, instructions to offers, have not been addressed thoroughly or completely. But in today's page limited proposals, you might have a 250-page performance work statement and be allowed to have 25 pages for your technical and management response. That's a challenge. So you cannot just mechanically say, we're going to address every shall statement in our proposal, because you'll run out of real estate. You have to intelligently cluster your approach elements to convey what you're going to do at a across the board level, but you're not going to be able to address every specific requirement.
We have one other question, which I think is a killer question. How would you go about changing a team's mentality from working win themes to working strengths?
The best way that I can suggest is by actually walking the walk and talking the talk. I'm a huge proponent of examples. So when I work with companies that are not used to thinking in terms of strengths, but rather themes or major sales messages, that type of thing, I am always equipped with real deal examples of where the government in their source selection statements have used the strengths terminology versus any mention of themes or wow factors or discriminators, that type of thing. They just don't appear in source selection documents.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might ask, well, how do you get a hold of these source selection documents? Well, there are a number of them that are in the public domain out on the web, but in a lot of cases, you have to seek them through Freedom of Information Act requests. I know that if you're a member of Deltek, you can ask Deltek to provide you with source selection statements that they have, and I've found it to be incredibly insightful. But you've got to show the real language that the government uses in its source selection statements. Now, another great technique, which I've only developed and applied recently, is by searching Government Accountability Office, or GAO, results.
The protest docket?
The protest documents.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because what that will show is the GAO does a great job of providing exceptional documentation of how a given agency defines strengths and defined weaknesses and that type of thing. So when agencies do not explicitly have source selection documentation that defines strengths, like, for example, Department of Health and Human Services does not, but I was able to find the definition of strengths for Department of Health and Human Services through the protest docket results.
Well, Bob, I want to thank you. I know we have a couple other questions, and Bob, you want to show your last slide. If anyone has any other questions they want,
sure,
they can address it to Bob. But I just want to thank you so much, everybody. It was a fantastic discussion today, filled with great detail. Now, a couple of you asked, where can I get we're going to get a copy of this recording. And once again, it will be uploaded soon on the, probably within the day, by the end of the day, to the Chesapeake Chapter's YouTube channel. And it's going to be on our LinkedIn page. And I'll also see if I can't get a copy mailed to everybody here who attended. So with that, I'd like to thank Bob, and I'd also like to remind everybody who participated today that we are going to have a free lunch on Thursday, January 18th at Carroll Creek Cafe, so be sure to register for that. We hope to see you there soon. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today, and have a great day. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you so much, Brenda, and thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye.